Alrighty, it is 7 o'clock. I just had my computer unceremoniously decide that it wanted to update. So I will be pulling up the questions and two shakes of a tail feather. I'm like, why? Why computer? Why now? Why would you need to update now? But hopefully everybody has had an amazing weekend and a week. We were just at it and we are starting a whole new set of 200 questions. So let's see if I can pull this up the way it needs to be. hmm Come on, there we go. It's coming along and well, almost there. So close. So close yet so far. Hmm. Mm, mm, mm. Oh gosh. Sorry guys. Ugh. I hate it when technology is not working with me the way I need it to. So close. And oh, has anyone taken else taken this or skill check? Oh, there's tons. I mean, in general, are you asking me if I know of students or if anybody in the room is going through and taking it? And again, for my people on YouTube, I am so sorry. I'm coming. I'm coming. Um, Jesus. Where is this file? Why? Why is this acting so stupid? Okay, I think we got it. Open. Come on. Yay, let me share my screen and we are off to the races. All right. And where is this share button? Here we go. And oh, it's been one of those days, y'all. Good day, but a busy day. A good day, but a busy day. So, if you can see my screen and you are joining me via no, it's not going to share my screen now. Okay. Really? It doesn't want to share my screen. Oh, this is like one of those nightmares where you show up to school and nothing is working correctly. Nothing. Absolutely nothing is working correctly. Share this again. It is connected. What is going on? Why does it not want to share? Okay, let's try this. Let's try this one other way. I was just on Zoom earlier. Let's try this one more time. What is the problem? Share. There we go. All right, a new set of questions. Hopefully, everybody is here with me now. I've got my chat going. Everybody can see the questions. Oh, you can't see Jasmine? Sorry, you can't see. It's just your name. Great. Caroline, come God, I am a mess. I am a mess. I need to get Caroline this here. But you're going over to Zoom. Yes. And Jasmine, you asked, how do you join the Zoom? You're going to email me and let me know first that you can see my screen. You should see those questions now, but let me refresh. But you're going to email me and I'll put on my screen here my email address, Candace Ellis at Gmail. And just ask me for the Zoom link. And that way you'll be in the Zoom room with us and you can do all sorts of questions and whatnot. So there we go. All right. Hello, Miss Val. Hello, Miss Jasmine. Everybody. Yes. So let's start with number one. Now, these are not AI questions. What we're doing today is we are taking a look at questions that was from a random online site. And we may not finish all, I think this is 100 questions, but I want to see and I want to get your opinion on what is the quality of these questions. Do you all like these random book questions or do you like the AI questions better? I don't know. I figured after doing so many months, almost what, 4 or 5 months of AI questions, let's see how these stand up to a book. So here we go. Number one, an owner of property conveys interest in that property to a private school, with the stipulation that the land only be used as a playground. Several years later, the school trustees announced that the school is going to expand by building an addition onto this property. The grantor can do any of the following except. That's a long question, but you should expect that on your exam. They do like wordy questions. So, owner of a property gives a property to a private school and says you can only use it as a playground. Several years later, the trustees announce they're going to expand by building an addition onto this property. The grantor can do all of the following except. So, three of these things are true, and one of these are false, and we're looking for the false. Is it one? A, ignore the violation and restriction. B, wait and then demand that the addition be torn down. C, reclaim the property. Or D, formally reconvey the property without restriction. So remember, we're looking for what the grantor can do. This is basically you saying, hey, I want you to use this for XYZ purpose. And now they've changed their mind. So, okay, can they ignore the violation of the restriction? Well, yeah, I would assume so. Why not? If you said don't do this and then somebody does it anyway, why can't you say, okay, well, let's just do it, we'll just ignore it. B, wait and then demand that the addition be torn down. I don't know if you can just randomly decide. I would wonder, it's kind of like we know with subdivisions and subdivision rules. They can't just randomly decide, oh, for the last 5 years, we didn't pay attention to that rule about no fences over 7 feet. And then, all right. So that could be possibly an answer. C, reclaim the property. Well, yeah, you could do that. This is a true statement, and this is a true statement. They put a stipulation in, and since the new owner is breaking that stipulation, yeah, you can get your property back. Or D, formally reconvey the property without restriction. Well, yeah, if you're like, well, that was a stupid rule, I don't care if you do that anymore, that would work too. So it looks like our answer to this question is going to be B, wait and then demand that the addition be torn down. I think that is a false statement. Let me check my answer key. Yes, we are correct. See, already these feel a little different. So we'll see. Let's try number 2. A tremendous storm causes a river to flood, and in the process, about 15 feet of shoreline on Peter Haley's property is washed downstream. After the flood subsides, his neighbor's beach is widened by 15 feet. Which of the following is not true in this situation? Now, I have had test takers say there'll be less of this. Which of the following is not true? Having said that, they've been saying that for years, and I still get students that come back and say, well, they asked me, I got confused about which one is not true. So go ahead and prepare yourself for these questions, but it is good to try to figure out what's going on. So, a tremendous storm, you lost 15 feet, and then the neighbor got the 15 feet. 3 of these things are true, and 1 is false. So, Peter has a claim against his homeowner's insurance company. I mean, I don't know that you can claim anything against your homeowner's insurance company. I mean, it's land, it's nature. That's like an act of God. God, if you believe in God or whoever, maybe it was the rain god. Mother Nature said, yeah, this isn't your 15 feet anymore. I don't think you can really put in a claim for that. But let's see what our other answer choices are. B, the land was lost due to avulsion. Well, that's not the right answer because avulsion is not the right word. I'm sorry, I'm thinking of the wrong answer. Yes, that is a true statement, and avulsion is the right word because we know avulsion is a sudden tearing away. So from a rainstorm, this is true. That can't be the right answer. That's a true statement. Is it C, the new land has been created by the addition of alluvium? Yeah, well, that's a true statement. That can't be the right answer because alluvium is the actual dirt that moves and then gets to a new place. That is the definition of alluvium. And then you've got D, Peter may file for an abatement. Hmm. Peter may file for an abatement. Well, you could possibly. I mean, usually an abatement, but who are you filing with? Who are we filing the abatement with? Because an abatement is when you're filing with um, some kind of legal entity or corporation to make things right, but I have no idea who this abatement would be with. So you know what? I would say since there's so many companies you could do that with, I'm gonna say it's not D. You probably could do that. I'm gonna say two is A because I know for sure you would not have a claim against your homeowner's company. Let's see if we're right. Survey says, hey, the answer is A. Nice. All right, so far, two questions in. I don't know how I feel about it, but let's try number three. But good job getting it right, y'all. The federal law that requires the cleanup of property contaminated by toxic materials is. So, which federal law says you have to clean up property if they find some toxic stuff on it? Is it CERCLA? Is it RESPA? Is it FNMA? Or is it TIL? Hmm. What are we thinking? Number three, Valerie says A. Stacy says A. Excuse me, Marillie says A. All right, are we thinking this is A? Yep. Oh, and Crystal, you said A too? Okay, these might be too easy for you all. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Are these literally too easy for you all? Have I gotten you all to a point that you already know all the answer choices? Which look, nothing could make me happier. A, CERCLA. And can anybody tell me what RESPA stands for? What does FNMA stand for? And what does TIL stand for? Because we know we learn from what's going on, those other answer choices. What does RESPA stand for? What does FNMA stand for? What does TIL stand for? Throw it in the chat. Throw it in the chat. Throw it in the chat.
Hey Candice, while we're waiting on that, those answers, the 180 days for the test, is that for us to take the initial exam, the initial state exam?
So that has to do with in North Carolina. So it's a very North Carolina specific thing. Once you apply, you get 180 days of eligibility. So once they're like, oh, yay, you can test. Within that 180 days, you'll take your test. Now, if you don't pass, you'll have to basically reapply for, you have to tell them I need to take it again. But that you can take the test is good for 180 days. Overall, you have 3 years that you have these different 180-day periods that you can pass. If you don't pass your exam within 3 years, then you would have to come back and take your pre-licensing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, then I don't have to freak out. Thanks.
Okay, no problem. All right, so, okay, Marilla, you said RESPA is Real Estate Settlements Procedures Act. Yes, Real Estate Settlement Procedures Act. That's the one that basically says no kickbacks, among other things. You've got FNMA, which stands for Federal National Mortgage Association, which, you got Fannie Mae, you got Ginnie Mae, you got Freddie Mac, and we know TIL stands for Truth in Lending. And we know that RESPA and Truth in Lending come together to make TRID. I know there is no way I can over harp on the fact that you all need to know those. So make sure you're comfortable with those. All right, next page. Tenancy by the entirety differs from other forms of co-ownership in that A, neither owner can force the sale. B, Each owner is free to devise his or her share to the chosen heirs. C, shares may be acquired at different times. Or D, the property must be a principal residence. So one of these things is true, and the other three are false. What do we have here? So neither owner can force a sale. Each owner is free to devise his or her shares to chosen heirs. C, shares may be acquired from at different times. Or D, the property must be a principal residence. What are you thinking? Well, let's get rid of some answers. We know it's not B because the whole point of tenants by the entirety is that you get the right of survivorship. When you die, your spouse automatically gets it. You can't send those shares to whomever you want. Absolutely not. Right? It's shares that may be acquired at different times. Well, it's you get married if you are especially in North Carolina, if you're married and then you buy property, we just make you tenants by the entirety at that moment. For properties that you already own, you don't become a tenant by the entirety unless you redeed it to yourself. So it's not C. And the D, the property must be a principal residence. No, that's not true either, meaning our answer has to be A. Neither owner can force a sale. That is true. If you own property as tenants by the entirety, let's say you owe money to somebody, they can't force the sale. Like that is one property. It has to go together. Everybody has to agree. So great job, ladies. Great job. All right, number 5. Uh-oh, got a little math. An appraiser is evaluating a 4-bedroom, 2-bathroom property. The appraiser finds a comparable, let's start looking at these, 4-bedroom, 1-bath property with a pool that recently sold for $475,000. The appraiser determines that the bathroom is worth approximately $8,000 and a pool is worth $10,000. How much would the subject property appraise for if it is a 4-bedroom, 1-bath property, if the 4-bedroom, 1-bath property was the only comparable property the appraiser could find? Okay, so I'm assuming, let's take a look here. We got 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, no pool. Then we're comparing that comp is a 4-bedroom, 1-bath property. It says the 4-bath, and I guess it has a pool. So let's do it this way. Let's do our subject property. Let's do our comp. Our subject property has 4 bedrooms. It has 1 bath. And it has a pool. Nope, no pool. It's got 2. Wait, okay, let me pull it together here, Candace. It's got 2 pools. 2 pools, 2 bathrooms, and no pool. Did I do that right? It's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath with no pool. 4-bedroom, 2-bath, no pool. And we don't know how much it's worth. The comp recently sold for $475,000. It has 4 bedrooms. It has 1 bathroom. And it has a pool. So what we have to do is exactly right. CIA, CBS. We have to either say if the comp is better, we add value. And if the comp is, what is wrong with my brain? Why can I not, my brain is all galaffled. If the comp is better, we subtract. And if the comp is inferior, we add, because CIA, CBS. So 4 bedrooms, we're not making any value changes. 2 bedrooms is going to be worth, if 1 bedroom is worth or bathroom is worth $8,000, we need to say, hey, if the comp had another bathroom, it would have sold for $8,000 more, right? If our comp had sold for with one additional bathroom, it would have sold for $8,000 more. Our comp is inferior, so we're adding. But our comp also has a pool. And if it didn't have a pool, it would have sold for $10,000 less. So we have to take the 475, we have to add 8,000 and subtract 10,000, which means we're really just kind of netting a negative 2,000. So that means it should have sold for 473. We are saying if the comp had the same features as the subject, how much would it have sold for? It would have sold for 8,000 more plus a $10,000 less. That gives us 473, and that makes our answer B. Did we get that right? How do we feel about it? Now, again, even if you're in a state, California, I'm looking at you, where you don't have to do math, they will often ask you questions like, hey, because this property had the comp property has a bedroom, a pool in this case, would we be adding value to the comp or would we be subtracting value from the comp? They might not ask you to do the actual numbers, but yeah, can I go over this one more time? I sure can. Let me pull this together and do a little better. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, so let's do it visually. First of all, you want to remember CIA and CBS. So let's say you have a subject property. It has bedroom 1. That's got 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, and it's got 1 bath. So this is 4 bedrooms, and it's got, 2 baths. Now, you've got a comp property that sold for $475,000. It has 4 bedrooms. It only has 1 bath. And it's got a pool. So it's not pretty, but hopefully you understand what I'm laying out there. What we've got to do is say we want to turn this comp and we want to make the features match. So if we're going to make this match, if we're going to make the comp match the subject property, we got to get rid of this pool. So if this property didn't have a pool, would you still pay $475 for it? Absolutely not. And a pool is worth $10,000. So we've got to subtract 10 grand from the property value. But also, if this property had an additional bathroom, wouldn't you have paid more money for it? A bathroom is worth $8,000. So if this property had had an additional bathroom, you would have paid $8,000 more. So we adjusted because the difference is between 10,000 and 8,000. We're going to do a net adjustment of 2,000, giving us an answer of 473. So Miss Val and Miss Stacy, does that make sense? Ah, you see now, girl, that's why we draw it out. I may not be an artist, but sometimes seeing the visual, it helps a little bit, right? And this is why we say CIA, our comp was inferior. So we added a bathroom, and CBS, our comp was better. So we had to subtract the pool. Sweet. It's the Mona Lisa. It's a Mona hot messa. That's what that is, a Mona hot messa. There we go. All right, number 6. When Heather Tennant Grayson opened her ice cream shop in the mall, she installed special freezers. When Heather closes the shop, can she remove them? Is it A, it depends on whether her lease specifically states she can? B, no, because as a tenant, she gives up the right of possession? C, yes, if she repairs any damage caused by their removal? Or D, no, because as fixtures, they have become part of the real estate. All right, y'all just threw those answers in the chat. You knew this one. Our answer most definitely is C, because it is a fixture, but we know it's a fixture in a not a residential, in a commercial setting. It's commercial. She's renting, so she can remove it as long as she repairs the damage. Nice job, ladies. Number 7. After John Rawlings bought his apartment, he started receiving his own property tax bills from the municipality. This indicates that he is bought into A, a condominium, B, a cooperative, C, a leasehold, or D, a syndicate. And I'm with you, Valerie. Ooh, ice cream, right? Because we can't eat salads because apparently, even though we thought no more explosive diarrhea, now the explosive diarrhea is back and the numbers are still growing. So no salads for us, ice cream for everybody. So after John Rawlings bought his apartment, he received a tax bill. Did he buy a condo, a co-op, a leasehold, or a syndicate? Well, we can eliminate some of these answers, can't we? We know it's not a leasehold because in a normal residential lease, you don't get a tax bill. That's the landlord's problem. And a syndicate is a group of real estate investors, coming together, pooling their money together. It's not that. So is it a condo or a co-op? Donuts are safe. Donuts are safe too. All right. So for 7, Crystal, you said B maybe. Miss Marilli, you said B maybe. Well, what do we know? What is the definition of a condo and what is the definition of a co-op? What is a definition of a condo and what is a definition of a co-op? And in order to answer this, we probably should say, what is the definition of a townhome? Because I do like these questions and they're putting you in situations. Miss Stacy, you said A. Okay, in a co-op, they don't own. That's right. In a co-op, you don't own the unit. Own the unit. You own shares in a company, and then you get a lease. Proprietary lease. There's a P word I'm thinking of right now. I don't know why my brain's not working. You get to lease. So no, you don't get a tax bill for it because you don't own it. So it's not B, cooperative. And that means our answer has to be, by process of elimination, it has to be condo. But then what's the difference between a condo and a townhome? Remember, in a condo, you're buying an apartment. You get fee simple ownership to that apartment, but you are a co-owner in common for all of the shared areas. So you get your apartment, but the land underneath, you are a co-owner. And a townhome, this is where you got all of these buildings attached. All right, my artiste skills are really bad today. And then the land underneath, you get your land too. So this house gets this land. And this house gets this piece of land. And this house gets this piece of land. So in a condo, you get your apartment, but you're co-owners in the shared area, including the land. You can have apartments or condo units above you, below you, beside you, all like that. In a townhome, you can't do that. In a townhome, you get your land and the unit on which the land sits. So nobody can be above you, just next door. And of course, in a co-op, you're buying shares in a company and that company owns an apartment and you can have a proprietary lease. So Hopefully that helps. There we go. So Miss, I gotta say, Miss Stacy, good job. You knew the answer was A and you stuck to your guns. I like it. All right, number 8. Which of the following is permissible for a broker without an appraiser's license to prepare on behalf of a client? They have no appraiser's license. So one of these things you can do, one of these things you cannot do. Let's see what you got going on. Let's see. So which of the following is permissible? Can you do a sales comparison analysis? Sales comparison analysis. I mean, that's what an appraiser uses when they're doing an appraisal. In that true sales comparison approach, you need to be an appraiser. So that's not going to be it. A comparative market analysis, well, that's a CMA. And I know as an agent, I can do a CMA, so that's looking good. B, a reproduction analysis. Nope, that's part of what it's not even a reproduction analysis, I would call it. It's a part of a step when you do the cost approach, and then you do the market comparison analysis, which is the same thing as a sales comparison approach. So, nope, that's not it. Our answer has to be B, CMA. Nice. Nice, nice, nice. All right, number 9. The Simons have defaulted on their loan payments and are behind in paying the rest of their utility bills, real estate tax bills, and contractor fees. So their home is being sold in a foreclosure auction. Of the many liens against it, which will have the first claim in the proceeds of sale? Is it A, the first mortgage recorded, B, the unpaid real estate taxes, C, the mechanics lien, or D, a home equity loan? Ooh, what do you think for this one, guys? What are we thinking? Mhm. Oh, Crystal said Uncle Sam is going to get his money. And then we got the B for baby face. You've got the cutest little baby face. Yes, that is correct. It is B, unpaid real estate taxes. Taxes are the first lien paid. The court costs are going to be paid absolutely first. Then they're going to go to the real estate tax liens, and then they're going to do all of the other liens in the order they were recorded. Boom. Nice. Now, I will say I am liking these questions because they're putting our questions, even the definitions, in more of a scenario. Here's a story, apply the knowledge you know. And you could get questions like this on your exam as well. So I like it. Oh, where's my water? Let me grab my water because I'm thirsty. Let's see. Here we go. 10. The agreement signed by the owners of House A and House B to share a common driveway is a form of A, an encroachment, B, a party wall, C, an easement, or D, an adverse possession. All right. We got C, we got C, we got C. I was so busy trying to get my music set or my screen set up, I didn't connect the audio, so I cannot play the carrot song for you right now, but I can sing. C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. And yes, our answer is it is an easement. Now, as a brain teaser, what are our 2 types of easements? You know we have 2 types of easements. What are our 2 types of easements? Anybody? Easements come in 2 flavors. It's like chocolate chip and sugar cookie. What are our 2 types of, well, prescriptive? Okay, prescriptive is how. It's how an easement is formed. You're not wrong. Easements can come because of prescription. That's how they're formed. It's not necessarily what I would say the type. But you're close. An appurtenant easement, yep. Or appurtenant, however they want to say it. And that's where you have to have 2 P's and there's 2 properties. One property has the right to cross another property, And an easement in gross. I love it. And we know there's two types of easements in gross. You've got the commercial easement. Is that right? Commercial and a personal. Commercial easement in gross, like your utilities, and a personal easement in gross. Nice. There we go. Well, I see you, Miss Valerie. I see you. Okay, number 11. Which of the following is an example of voluntary alienation of real property? We know voluntary means you chose it. Alienation means you are no longer associated with the title. So, in which of these did you choose to not be the owner of the property? Is it A, a condemnation sale, B, a foreclosure sale, C, a deed of trust, or D, a transfer by escheat? Well, we know when a property's been condemned, the government said we're taking your property. So you didn't choose that. That's not voluntary. A foreclosure action, the bank is taking your property. The bank is saying, I'm taking your property because you did not pay. You didn't choose that. C, a deed of trust. Well, I like that answer because in a deed of trust, you are literally in a trust. Why? Where my words? We call that we're a deed of trust state. We a deed theory. Okay, there's lien theory and there's title theory. That's the word I'm looking for. In a title theory state, you are literally giving. You, the owner, are giving ownership to the bank. I like that. And then you got D, a transfer by escheat, where escheat, you know that if you die with no will and no heirs, your property goes to the state. You did not choose that because I hate to break it to you, you are dead. So our answer is C, a deed of trust. Key word vocabulary. Yes, very much so. You know you're going to be tested on these concepts. Okay. 12. A licensed appraiser is used to determine the sales price of the property, the profitability of rental property, whether or not to renovate a property, or how much a lender will lend for the purchase of a property. What you got for 12? A, B, C, or D? A, B. Mhm, mhm, mhm. And I know I've said this before, but I really don't like this new version of the alphabet song they be singing. I just really don't. And yes, I see you all giving me the right answer. The answer is D. How much a lender will lend for the purchase of a property. I cannot believe, y'all, I'm making myself a post-it note. I cannot believe I forgot to email Caroline again. Oh, I'm just running around trying to get this project done. I'm putting it on big letters. Email Caroline. So I will send her. That'll be the very first thing I do when I get off here tonight is email Caroline the Zoom. She lost the Zoom room link and I meant to send it to her. Mhm. And they are taking the low. They're not going to overprice your house. That is absolutely right, Miss Valerie. Okay. 13. The furnace at 39 State Street doesn't work properly. However, because the prospective buyers inspect the house in July, there's no indication of this. The condition of the furnace is known as, so it's got a furnace, it doesn't work. The buyers inspect the house in July. Is this condition of the furnace an encumbrance, a cloud on title, a latent defect, or economic obsolescence? Well, I like to go through and eliminate what we can, right? Economic obsolescence is not the answer because this is when you have a loss of value from the surrounding area. I'm just writing that out. So that's not our answer. A cloud on title has something to do with title. And your furnace not working has nothing to do with title. It's not B. So is this an encumbrance or is this a latent defect? You know it's not an encumbrance, something that affects your rights. Mm-mm. Something that affects your rights, that's not it. So we know our answer is C, a latent defect, because we know latent means hidden. It's a defect that could not be found. Now, I want to argue There's no reason why your inspector did not turn on your heat to make sure it works. I mean, they could have done that. I don't care if it is July, but okay. It's the only answer choice that makes sense. So that's what we're going to go with. All right. 14. The amount of commission to be paid to a broker is determined by the amount of commission to be paid by a broker is determined by A, the Federal Trade Commission. No, I don't care how much you get paid. B, negotiation between the agent and the client. I like that. C, the Sherman Antitrust Act. No, we just got in trouble for that. And D, the Local Association of Realtors. Again, we just got in trouble for that. It's going to be by B, negotiation between the agent and the client. All right, 15. Lots of numbers, but we don't freak out. To increase the effective yield on a $250,000 loan by 1/4% when one discount point is the equivalent to increase the APR of 1/8%, how much would the lender collect in settlement and origination fees? We don't freak out. Hello, Nino. We don't freak out when we see this. We know that 1 point will cost you 1% of the loan amount. And we know a point will be worth, or it moves, that's not an S, 1/8%, or 0.125%. So we want to move this loan by 1/4. We need to know how many points does it take. Well, if 1 point moves at 1/8%, 1/8% plus 1/8% equals 1/4%. Now I could go into the long math of that, or I could say, I said 1/8 is 0.125%. So if you add 0.125% plus 1.25%, that gives you 0.25%. You need 2 points. You need 2 points. And if our loan is $250,000, that means we need 2% of that $250,000. $250,000 times 2%. It should be $5,000. I mean, I literally just did this in my head, but 1% sounds like it's 2,500. So isn't 2% 5,000? I mean, that's what I don't math very well, but I'm pretty sure that's what that is. I'm pretty sure I know it is. I'm gonna trust myself. Boom. Nice. Now, Miss Valerie, do you see what you did there? I saw you got the D. I want to make sure you're good with that math. Don't worry about being late. You are never late. You are never late. As long as you see it now, cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, number 16. A loan having longer amortization period than the life of the loan would feature A, variable interest rate, B, fixed interest rate, C, graduated payment, or D, a balloon payment. Ooh, I'm very curious to see what you all think about this one. What do you think about this one? Also, I'm going to see. I'm just pulling up the tick of the tops. A loan having a longer amortization period than the life of the loan. Do we understand what that means? Because if we don't understand what that means, it's going to be real hard, absolutely positively very hard to get this question right. So let's make sure you understand what we're talking about first. And if you know what we're talking about, then that's good. What are we gonna do? Amortization is the interest, right? Okay, yes. So amortization means to slowly decrease a loan amount to pay off something slowly. So if you buy a car and you get a 5-year loan, that means the amortization is 5 years. Remember, there's somebody who's really, really smart that figures out the numbers, although you all can do this now too, to say, hey, how much are you going to pay monthly so that in 5 years, this loan is completely paid off? That is what would be a fully amortized loan. But what if you went to buy this car and you make payments in 5 years, but after 5 years, you still owe? You're going to make payments for 5 years. And at the end of the 5 years, they're going to be like, you know what? We know you've made these monthly payments, but you still owe us another $3,000. That's what we mean when we say there's a longer amortization period. You would need more time to pay off the loan than they actually gave you to pay off the loan, the life of the loan. So, a variable interest rate is a type of loan, but that just means your interest rate changes. A fixed interest rate, well, a fixed interest rate just means your interest rate doesn't change. And a graduated payment means you start with payments that are low, and as time goes on, when you get to the end, there is none of what our answer is. There is no balloon payment. A feature of a loan where you still have money that are due at the end of the life of that loan is a balloon payment. Think of about blowing up a big balloon and it's having to pay it at the end. Some of the questions that get you, is this one of the questions that gets you, Marily? Like, tell me, is it the wording? Is it that you didn't know what these vocab words were? Or is it the details, the wording? And there is not much you can do. A loan having longer amortization period for the life of the loan, that is not how you commonly see it. But that is why I'm always harassing you all to make sure you understand the actual meaning of what a balloon payment is. And I know not all the teachers, I know a lot of teachers go, oh, you can just like, but no, it's not you. It does. When it makes sense, when I explain it, it makes sense. But here's the thing. I know you know these things. So you've got to make sense of it when you get in the exam. Do you know what oh, that's not what I meant to do. Do you know what amortization is? And then if you do, what does it mean to have a longer amortization period? It is awkward. I don't think I would ever talk through it this way. But since I understand what the words mean, I'm able to figure it out. And Valerie, you asked, so a balloon payment is when you pay a larger price at the end. It kind of threw you off. Yes, Crystal, you said you're trying to understand the question. You sometimes have to reword the question. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Miss Marily, Crystal has been speaking English her entire life. If a native English speaker is struggling with how these words are put together, yeah. And it does definitely help when you eliminate the wrong ways. So it is. This is one that's just awkward. It's just awkward. But knowing your vocab words are going to help immensely. Help you immensely. I knew what you meant. And okay, Miss Valerie, you're trying to, does it, do you understand it now, Miss Valerie? You know what? If you're not understanding amortization, like what it's talking about here, I do have a picture I can kind of show us. Do we all understand this balloon payment thing? Because I want to make sure. You get it? It's just a funny question. I know. I know it is. It's not y'all. Okay. Number 17. Financing for FHA loans come from. Financing for FHA loans comes from A, commercial lenders, B, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, C, the Federal Housing Administration, or D, Fannie Mae. Ooh, this is a good trick question. Hopefully you don't get tricked by it, but this is a great question. This is an A1. Okay, as I say that and y'all just flinging the right answer at me. Yes, Financing, the money for an FHA loan comes from the lender. It comes from the lender. It doesn't come from FHA or HUD. It doesn't come from Fannie Mae. The loans are given from the bank. We know FHA is just providing the mortgage insurance. Or not, yeah, the mortgage insurance, basically the mortgage insurance premium, the MIP. Y'all didn't get caught by that. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right, 18. Which of the following actions would trigger the due on sale clause in a mortgage on a two-family home? Which of the following actions would trigger the due on sale clause in a mortgage on a two-family home? So when you're taking the test, you go, what do I know about a due on sale clause? Oh, if it's also called the alienation clause. So if I alienate myself from the property, if I take title out of my own name, then yes, I would owe, I'd have to, have to pay off the loan. So is it A, getting a second mortgage on the property? B, giving the property as a gift to a friend? C, devising the property? Or D, taking a new tenant taking possession of the property? Well, you haven't changed title in D, right? Getting a second mortgage on the property, you didn't change title. Title did not change hands in that second mortgage either. Now we're looking at giving the property as a gift to a friend or devising the property. Okay. Now I see a lot of you all are saying 18 is C, devising the property, but womp womp, it's not devising the property. Why? Well, first, what does devise mean? We know that the tenant taking possession of the property is a demise because they're leasing. The V in devise means it's a property given by will. And I don't know how many times you all have experienced this, but when somebody dies, the bank doesn't just take over. Like, as long as you keep making mortgage payments, they'll pretty much accept them. That means you sold the property, you gave the title to somebody else, but usually a loan, because somebody died, that's not what happens. Somebody needs to keep making the payments, right? But if you give the property as a gift, that means if this is you, you're handing them a deed to the new person. You're giving me the deed. So now the deed would be in my hand. You are alienating yourself on purpose from the property. Our answer is B. You said you mix up device and demise. To this day, 23 years later, I've been licensed for 23 going on 24 years. When I saw this class, I saw the word devise and I saw the word demise. And what I see when I look at these two words is the V and the M. So the divide, when I see this V, I think W, and then I can think will. And when I see demise, I think, oh, there's L, M, N, O, P. And so I think of letters of the alphabet. And then I go, oh, this L, it connects me to lease. Is that the dumbest thing I've ever heard of? Yes. But hey, does it work? Also, yes. Now I know we're coming across 7:55, but remember, I got started a little late since my computer wanted to act a fool. So I will go a little bit later as well. Yay. 19. Which of the following must an agent affirmatively disclose to a prospective buyer? If you're struggling with the words, just put it in English. What does an agent have to tell a buyer? Which of these things do you always have to tell if this happens in a deal? Is it A, the lowest price the seller will accept? It would have been helpful if they told us which agent you are, but okay. B, the neighbor's weekly late night band practice. I mean, things that would be helpful, but you don't have to share them. C, that the agent owns the property. Or D, that the agency agreement is an exclusive right to sell. It's not D. Do you have to disclose that you own the property? You know, yeah. If you, I don't care if you're the buyer's agent, seller's agent, I don't care what you're doing. If you own the property and you were a licensed agent, I don't care what state you're in, you don't have to tell them. You have to disclose. You have to disclose this. hmm hmm Well, you know what? For on a national level, yes. On a national level, you do have to disclose. And I will say in North Carolina, they strongly suggest that you do. That's it. Okay. 20. Ooh, math. Mwah. Laura Murphy is buying a new home for $193,000. She makes a $40,000 down payment and finances the balance with a 7.5% 30-year conventional loan. The factor for the repayment is $7 per thousand. After making the first payment, what is the remaining balance on Laura's loan? I will be honest. If I was taking this exam, I would say, and I was y'all, I'd be like, ain't nobody got time for this. Ain't nobody got time for this. I don't know. Now, could I eliminate? Yeah. Obviously, we got to first figure out how much the loan is for. So if we're buying for 193 and you put $40,000 down, that means your loan was for 153. That was your initial loan amount on the first, like when you bought the house. So already I can eliminate this and this. Why do I owe you 191, 929? That's more than I actually borrowed. I don't actually think so. I don't actually think so. So now the question belongs like, okay, how much am I putting towards that loan? Now, I can tell you in general, pick the lower amount because when you make a payment, the itty bittiest amount you can imagine goes towards reducing your loan amount. But let me explain to you how I would do it. What I know is that there's factor. This word factor tells you a rate of P&I. So at $7, that's what you pay for every $1,000 you borrow. So if your loan was for $1,000, you would owe $7 every month until it's paid off. If you borrowed $2,000 from the bank, you would pay $14 every month until it was paid off. Well, in this case, you owe $7 for every thousand you borrow until it's paid off. So if it's a loan of 153, I'm going to do 153 times $7, and that's going to give me a total of where's my calculator? $1,071. That is your P&I payment. So remember, even though you might pay $1,071 on this $153,000 loan, part of it is principal and part of it is interest. Only the principal amount is going to reduce your loan payment. Now, I could see if I were to do 153 subtract 1071, that's the answer they have here. This 151,929. If every single penny of this went to reducing my principal, that would be the answer. I don't even have to finish this math problem to get it right. That's not the right answer because remember, part of it is principal, part of it is interest. I want to know what's the remaining balance on the loan. So I've got to figure out of that 1071, how much went to principal and how much went to interest. Well, if our annual interest rate is 7% annual, and you borrowed $153,000, 7.5%. Let me do that. So 153,000 times 7.5%. That gives me, stop it, stupid thing, $11,475. That's what you would owe for a year. It's only been a month. So I'm going to take that 11,475,000 and divide it by 12. And that gives me $956.25. So even though you made this 1071 payment, only this 956.25, well, I should say this, the 956.25 goes to the bank. So the difference between this 1071 and this 956 is $114.75. You might have written the bank a check for 1071, but only $114.75. You no longer owe, you went to the principal. You don't owe 153, you owe 153 minus 114.75. So that should be our final answer, 152,885. I told you I'll choose the lowest amount because it just hurts your feelings, but let me double check. 153 subtract 114.75. Bam. You didn't read correctly. You put 7%. Girl, I almost did the same thing. You saw me do that. I almost did the same thing. The real catch here, the real thing everybody needs to be careful about is this idea. Don't use this 171. It is principal and interest. You had to separate out the principal and interest amount to make this work. There you go. Nice. All right, you want to finish? We'll finish this and then one other page, and then we'll be good for the day. A representative with full authority to bind the principal to all agreements is. A representative with full authority to bind the principal to all agreements is A, a general agent, B, a literary agent, C, a special agent, or D, an accidental agent. I mean, you have full authority. You have full authority. I mean, a general agent? Off the top of my head, I would have said full authority to bind a principal to all agreements is a universal agent. I mean, I'm over here shaking my head and being like, I don't understand. But okay, well, accidental agent doesn't make sense. And it's definitely not special agent. That's what we are when you're a sales agent. You can't make your own indecision thing. I mean, yeah. And then you got B, a literary agent. What is what? I mean, the only answer I would say would be a general agent. I don't love this. This is a limited type of agency. So think of a property manager. Yeah, your property manager can bind you into lease agreements, but they can't bind you into selling your car. That would have been a universal agent. So I'm going to choose A because it's really the only choice is Universal's cousin. You right? That's what I would go with because you got to choose the best answer choice. I do not like 21, but that's what I'm going to go with. And I see here that is the answer because I know it can't be B, C, or D. It's not the best answer choice in all of the world, but is better than B, C, or D. So that's what we're going with. And that's how we get that question right. Awesome sauce. Okay, 22. Which of the following best describes the role of an agent who seeks a particular type of property for their client? Ruh-roh. Which of the following best describes the role of an agent who seeks a particular type of property for their client? A general agent, an independent contractor, a special agent, or limited power of attorney? I mean, I don't really love this question. I know it's not independent contractor. Yeah. Best describes the role of an agent who seeks a particular type of property for a client. I mean, I'm going to say not general agent. I could be wrong on this one. And I'm going to say they're looking for C. I just, a limited power of attorney makes me think of like medical limit. You know, you're limited into one portion of somebody's life, which would be the definition. I feel like A and D are basically saying the same thing. So if it's not D, it's not A, which gives me the answer of C. I don't know. Yes, Valerie, most definitely. Sometimes you have to pick the closest answer, the best answer choice. Absolutely. That is so true. You are exactly right. Love it. Okay. 23. One of the features of the Taxpayers Relief Act of 1997 is. Now, do I know what the Taxpayers Relief Act of 1997 is? Yes. Do I think you all know what it is? Probably not. But I'm hoping that once you look at some answer choices, you're like, oh, that does sound familiar. Right? I happen to know it, but this is why we do practice questions. Because now, once we review it, if you get it on the test, you might be like, that's that question where Candace had that terrible British accent. Awful, awful, I tell you. So, I don't even know if that's a British accent. That's just a crazy accent. That's what we call that. So, is it A, limited amnesty for unpaid taxes? I did not know this was a thing, but okay, I'm pretty sure that's not a thing. I don't think you're getting forgiven for unpaid taxes like that. B, the ability to deduct interest on personal loans. I don't know of any type of ability to deduct interest on personal loans. I don't know. Yeah, I'm going to say maybe not. C, the exclusion of a single person of up to $250,000 of capital gain resulting from the sale of a principal residence. Now that right there sounds right familiar because that is true. Remember, when you have lived someplace 2 out of the past 5 years and you sell it, if you are single, you can get the first $250,000 of capital gains and not pay, capital gains tax on it. And if you're married, it's the first 500,000. However, it's got to be that primary residence out of the 2 of the past 5 years. This is most definitely a law you should know about for your test and just because you're going into real estate. So I like C. Let's see what we think about D. The elimination of the office in the home deduction. No, that's not it. So we're going to go with best guess C. And I know this to be true because I know that is actually the answer, but I wanted to show you how I would try to deduce what the answer is. You said C, you remember we went over this. Yeah, that's right. You just got to kind of come dig through your memory banks and see what you can find. All right, 24. Which of the following is not a responsibility of the agent has to the principal? Before I even look at my answer choices, I go, oh, old car. Or sometimes you might learn this as loads. Obedience, hey, they both have O's. That's not the answer. Disclosure, they both have D. Accounting, yeah, they both have A. Fealty? Excuse me, it's not float. It's not fold the car. It's not fealty. And fealty is like when you're like, whenever I think of fealty, I think of kings and knights, and you pledge fealty to the king. Yeah, that's not it. I'm not pledging any kind of knight, nothing. Nah. I pledge fealty to my bed. That's about all I got. 25. Tracy represents Sam in the sale of Sam's home. Tracy finds a buyer who submits an offer to buy Sam's home for $525,000. Sam intends to accept the offer, but before the offer is formally accepted, his home burns down. Which of the following statements is true in this case? All right, let's think about this. Tracy is working with Sam. So Tracy is the buyer's agent, and Sam is the buyer. Oh, wait, no, it's the seller. Helps if I get my words right. Tracy finds a buyer. They submit an offer for $525,000. He intends to accept the offer, but before the offer is formally accepted, the home burns down. Well, can you get something that doesn't exist under contract? He didn't formally accept the offer. So which of the following statements is true? Tracy is entitled to a commission since she brought Sam a buyer. B, Sam does not have to pay Tracy her commission, but the buyer does. Well, I don't think B makes any sense. C, Sam does not owe Tracy a commission. Or D, Sam owes Tracy a commission if he accepts the offer. Now, this is getting pretty picky. I don't think the answer is D. You know, I know in a lot of listing agreements, it says you have earned a commission when you find a ready, willing, and able buyer, and then they agree to sell the house. But the house burned down before an offer was accepted. I think this listing agreement is over because it was not formally accepted, and then the house burned down, and you can't, the house being destroyed is going to end the listing agreement. No, I didn't bring you an offer during the term of our listing agreement. So I think our answer has to be C. Sam does not owe Tracy a commission. And I know that's the answer. I mean, I could see where I would get lost in the weeds, but the overall point here is you did not bring a ready, willing, and able buyer while you had a listing. Like it burned down before there was an offer accepted. So boom. Now, at the end of the day, my real answer is CYA. Call your attorney. I mean, and don't forget, you all are going to be salespeople. It's not your listing, it's your broker's listing. The broker would have to sue. So call your attorney. But I'm pretty sure, I know because I'm looking at the answer key. Yeah, they're looking for C. All right. Jeff and Alexandra Clancy have paid a total of $10,500 in mortgage insurance and $1,500 in property taxes this tax year. If they're in a 28% tax bracket, their tax savings are, I don't even know why we have to do these questions. I don't know of a single state that makes you do them. Let's see if I can get it right. I mean, you paid a total in $10,500 in mortgage insurance, so you get all 10,500. You get to subtract out the 10,500. And I know you get to subtract out the 1,500. So that's 12,000. You get at least save $12,000. So it's not this one, it's not this one, it's not this one. I mean, but they're in a 28% tax bracket. I feel like I'm going to multiply this by 28%, but I don't even know if that's right. Let me see. That would give me this answer. I'm between A and C. I'm going to go with C simply because I don't know, y'all. I'm not even going to lie to you. I'm not the one when it comes to these tax questions because it's just not one that comes up a lot on these tests. It's either A, but then if they want us to do something with this 28% tax bracket, then I think the answer would be C. One too many there. I'm going to go with, chances are I would probably have gone with A, but I really feel like they're looking for C. I'm a little confused on this whole tax bracket stuff. And if you are in a state where they ask you questions like this, please let me know. But I guess I'm assuming they're not trying to trick you. I'm going to go with C, although my heart wants to go with A. I don't know. I don't think they're trying to just trick you that much. So I'm going to go with C. Y'all can't see me doing my little crit. But I kind of feel like it's A. I kind of feel like maybe they would trick us. Stacy, you said C. I'm going with C. You said C, Miss Stacy. I'm going with C. I'm gonna go with C. I'm gonna do a little prayer. Hey, Stacy, you're right. It's C. Why? I don't even know, y'all. I don't even know. I would have been like, what? Who? Sure. I'm not even going to worry about this. If I get this on when I take my next state exam to get my next license, I'll be like, eeny, meeny, miny, I don't know. But I love the fact that me not knowing one question is not going to throw me off because I feel so strong in the other ones. 27, and we'll make this the last one of the evening. Good job, Miss Stacy. When Molly Green signed an offer to purchase the Simons house, she puts an earnest money deposit in the hands of the Simons listing broker. What should the broker do with the money? A, give it directly to the Simons. B, hold the deposit check until closing. C, promptly deposit into a trust or escrow account. I like that. Or D, promptly deposit it into the brokerage's business account. Oh, not the business account. We're not trying to go to jail. Nobody looks good in federal prison orange. So our answer is C. Boom. All right. Those are our questions for the night. Thank you all for your patience as we got started and me trying to get everything going this evening. What do we think? Remember, I said these are not AI questions that I wrote. These are questions that I got from like an online downloaded random website, but I kind of like them. I will see you all on Sunday and have a wonderful week. Bye, everybody. I'm a really yes. I will see you on Friday. Bye.